Story 1. So, in North Carolina, there is a house the Army bought to use for training. They replaced the doors and electrical, but everything else they just let go to shit. Which is very cool because that main house is over 100 years old. So, it's getting to that part of the day where it's not dark, but the trees make it really shadowy, but you can still see fairly well. So, it's a group of 7 of us going to explore the house. I drove the second car with 3 other people. Legend had it that people would lose their keys and end up sitting on the hood of the car or in the door. So I very scientifically and deliberately waited until everyone is out of the car and doors are properly closed. I then hit the lock on the key fob and everyone hears and sees it lock, and I check the doors. Remember this for later. We all end up splitting into small groups and I end up alone. Yay me. My wife and her friend go around back, and I stay out front walking around and scanning the woods. They then come back, which is when they tell me they heard what sounded like 2 little girls laughing and playing in the woods. So I started walking around with the flashlight scanning the woods. When we got back, the dome light was on, and one of the doors was cracked open on the Jeep. I shit you not, this starts to freak everyone out. As we were discussing this, we heard the loudest thud come from the house. I compared it to someone dropping a safe on the top floor of the house. This literally shook the house, and I heard the bass in my chest. Now, being prior military, I knew for a fact it wasn't artillery or ordnance. The rest of our friends that were in the house beat feet, and we got into our cars and left. No one can explain the noise. They were all upstairs, and they looked in a bedroom, and then they went into the next room, and then boom. Also, we talked to our friends years later about expecting them to say it was a joke. They had done something, but they still stand by their story that they never did anything. So what was it? What? Story 2. I'm a wildland firefighter with the Forest Service. This isn't my story, but it's from an old supervisor of mine that I believe completely. Setting is 2004 or so. Hell's Canyon area of Middle Ohio. His crew had been working all day on an emergency incident and were going to be working throughout the night as well. Being the assistant superintendent of the crew, he was out ahead scouting on an ATV or some such. He was working his way down a logging road that clearly had not been used in some time when a bobcat or lynx appears in the middle of the road, but doesn't run away as they usually would. The thing stands there for a good 10 seconds, screams at him, and scampers up a tree not 5 feet off the road. He finds this odd, but not particularly unsettling. Just a half mile or so down the road, he finds a small cabin. Also odd, as this is federal land and no private structure should be there. Upon investigation, all the windows had been boarded shut tight, and someone had done a good job of doing so. The doorknob had been punched out and secured and the hole drilled into the log frame by a chain. Someone did not want something getting in, or something getting out. Peering through the hole in the door, he could see that everything in the house is upset. This has him kind of unsettled, so he hops on his ATV and heads back up the road. Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Right where the bobcat had been, there stands a Native American woman, in a badly tattered nightgown and bare feet, just standing there. He yells at her, asking if she needs help. Just screamed at him, the same scream as the cat from before, and climbs right up the tree, faster than any human being has a right to be climbing. Obviously, he runs out of there as fast as he can, unsure of who or what he just saw. He asks a local guy about the cabin. After asking around a little, a local Native American hears him talking and informs him that what they saw was a pumawa, in effect, a skin changer or warg. Now, I would not believe most people that tried to tell me this, but this was a serious man that did not fuck around about many things. He was dead serious 2 times I've heard him tell it, and I 100% believe he saw what he saw. Story 3. So, I'm a park ranger. Another ranger and I were out on a search and rescue call once. The missing person was a man in his 20s. He had gone hiking and had not returned the day that he intended to. When we got the call, it was nighttime, but we hiked in a few miles and set up camp on a ridge that had a pretty good view. He had gone into the woods prepared, so we decided to wait until daylight before beginning the search. About 2 a.m., I get up and I'm taking a piss when I see a moving light at the base of the cliffs across the valley and a few miles away. It looks like a flashlight beam. I tell the other ranger, and we make the decision to keep waiting for daylight. The next morning, we decide to go check out the area and bring this guy home. We get to approximately where I saw the light the night before and start calling his name. Soon we find his body at the base of the cliff and fallen 60 feet on his head. The body was badly mangled. We radioed back that it had become a recovery instead of a rescue. At some point, the other ranger yells at me to come look at this. Lying 20 feet from the man's body was his mag light. It seemed odd, but I thought nothing of it until the other ranger reminded me of the night the light before. It kind of gave me the creeps, but I still dismissed it. Before too long, the coroner arrived and inspected the body. After he took the body back to the lab, he said that the man had been dead for at least 48 hours before we found the body. All of a sudden, the oh shit alarm went off in my brain. I knew that it couldn't be possible. I had the coroner review his work, same result. Trying to find an explanation for the light, and I had seen perhaps other hikers. But one search and rescue guy had stayed at that trailhead in the area all night. No one had come or gone. To this day, I have no clue what I saw. Maybe it was an animal or another person that the search and rescue officer just missed, but I don't know. It's freaking me out, to be honest. I wish I did know what it was, though. Keeps me from wondering.